Greetings, Zimbabwe. We have noted with concern the conduct and the goings-on with the Commission investigating the murders and the cold-blooded killings on the 1st of August 2018. These killings were done in daylight, were done by uniformed people, were done by deployed personnel from the military. What is surprising is that the Commission and the conduct of the commissioners and the witnesses, they seek to drag in the movement for democratic change into the fray of the investigation. We are here to underline the position of the MDC as regards the Commission. The MDC has decided not to participate in this commission on the grounds that we have not been invited properly, we have not agreed to the setting up of the commission, we have not been consulted in terms of the reference of the commission, and we have not been consulted in terms of the composition of the commission. So there are a number of fundamental issues that are wrong with the commission. One of the issues is, first, the appointing authority. We have an appointing authority who is an interested party. The soldiers or the personnel who were acting on that particular day were acting on behalf of the person who appointed the commission. They were acting in defense of the person who appointed the commission. All armed personnel are under the instructions of the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of Zimbabwe, and therefore he cannot turn around to appoint a commission that investigates himself. Secondly, at the time that the commission was appointed, a cabinet had not been constituted, he had not been put in place as a proper authority in terms of the constitution. The elections was still in dispute in various fora, in the courts and other fora. And to then appoint a commission in circumstances where one firstly does not have the legal authority nor does not have the legitimacy to do so was an act that was meant to create a cover-up rather than to investigate. And secondly, the composition of the commission was neither agreed to, it was thumb-sucked by a person who was investigating himself. In particular, the local participants in the commission. We have Charity Manyeruke, who is a card-carrying member of ZANU-PF and carries ZANU-PF at the bosom of her heart at all times and makes no secret about it. Has castigated the MDC and has castigated our president on a number of occasions. Lamo Maduku was a contestant in the elections. He was competing against the president. He has called on all other presidential candidates to recognize Mnangagwa. He has castigated our president, and in fact called him names for having challenged the election result and for having gone to court. And he is on record on those matters. So the composition was not consulted. One of the lawyers, who is a white man, who is a Queen's advocate or Queen's counsel, whatever the case might be, is on his website has stated that he represents dictators, military personnel, and he does that for a fee. The last commission of inquiry, which he participated in Sri Lanka, he left a controversial bill in excess of millions of dollars and left controversial findings for that matter. So the composition was meant to create an unfair playing field. We have in place President Moshanti. Well, at least we do respect President Moshanti. He has been a president of South Africa, president of the ANC. We wonder what criteria was used to select him. We believe that he's an innocent man who is being dragged into a plot that is playing out and has not been made to be clear. We then find the conduct of the commission itself more than comical and disreputable. Firstly, they've decided to carry out the commission in cities that did not see any action on that day. They've gone to Bulawayo, they've gone to Gweru, and the only justification that can come in our minds is that members of the Secretariat wanted out of town expenses, wanted out of town allowances, and to go there was an insult to the people of Matabeleland, where 20,000 people, a reported 20,000 people were killed, and a commission was never conducted at that place, and any of the commission that was put in place, the findings were never put out. The issue of the conduct of the witnesses in the hearings, the witnesses have clearly been coached. They are talking about events that are unrelated. They are bent on smearing the MDC, key leading figures in the MDC, like the vice chairman, like the vice president, Senator Comich, and many others who are being arraigned before the courts for these things. And we find that not only deplorable, but a farce. The issues relating to the number of witnesses that are being called, access to the commission. Access to the commission by witnesses has been difficulties. They are being asked to give written reports before they give witness statements. People who are named in the commission are not being given a right of audience to answer to the names that they've been given. There is no cross-examination of the witnesses except by the commission. They've not been allowed to bring representatives to that commission. To that end, it is a discredited commission. It is a commission that has turned into a comic. It is a tragic commission that is meant to dance on the graves of innocent Zimbabweans. And as such, as the MDC, we have decided that this will be our position as regards to the commission, that it is discredited, that its findings are discredited because you cannot find legitimacy from an illegitimate process. More importantly, it is important that when people appear before this commission, they are not only protected, but are seen to be protected. Where a commission keeps quiet, where people who have appeared before it are arrested and detained for days without a word from the commission, it gives a sense that there won't be protection of the people after speaking to the commission. It must be able, at the very least, if it cannot bring justice to the victims, be able to protect those that appear before it. What is to be done is very clear from the MDC standpoint. The state has a duty to protect its citizens, and that duty entails that mechanisms that have been put by the state to function to protect citizens must function. Firstly, Parliament should have kicked in to set up an independent commission or an independent commission of inquiry made up of people who are coming from all sectors of society, where all political parties would have been consulted. And this commission would have come up from credible people. And secondly, the people who carried out this operation were in uniform and identifiable to one of the branches of the security sector. And these people can be identified. They can be brought before the commission on oath to then testify as to their state of mind when they conducted this operation. More importantly, they will be able to reveal who was commanding them and what was the extent of their commands, which then led them to think that it was necessary for them to conduct the operation in a manner that they did, which ended up with the killing of people. And the commission itself will then recommend those that have to face sanctions before the court. Those that have to face criminal sanctions will then have to face the courts. And we do hope that when they come to the courts will be able to act in an independent manner, in a manner that protects the victim and not covers up for the perpetrators. And we do trust in a matter like this one, where all Zimbabweans are concerned about the death of innocent Zimbabweans. The courts will be able to deal with the matter impartially and in a manner that clearly apportions responsibility following the due process of the law. Once that is done, mechanisms should have been put in place for the compensation to the victims of these heinous acts, so that the victims will not be made to face the tragedy that they are facing on their own. They do not deserve to have to deal with this without any assistance from the state, where state organs have clearly failed in their duties to protect the citizens.